I wanted somebody who would nurture my portfolio as if it was their own investment. My name is Kerman. I am basically a human resource professional with about 34 years of experience, both in corporate and consulting. I started my investment planning journey in the year 2007-2008. Initially, it was through, advices through banking channels. But I soon realized that, that was not really giving me the kind of correct advice that I was looking for. I wanted somebody who would nurture my portfolio as if it was their own investment. Guardian Capital, what I appreciated was their approach. They looked at, financial advisory in a holistic sense. They first took an entire stock of all my investments and my assets. They did a thorough study of what my requirement was and then came back to me with their recommendation and their action plans. They have not been too pushy, so I've had the space to, think and study their recommendations on my own and feel comfortable about what decision I'm going to make. More recently, I was purchasing a house and I needed capital. So they were very helpful in terms of identifying where I could source that capital based on my entire portfolio. We went through multiple iterations. We also looked at it from a tax planning angle. This kind of wholesome service is what makes Guardian unique. Otherwise, you are running to multiple professionals to get tax advice from somebody else and investment advice from somebody else and collate that yourself and do it. But here you find it all in one house. Whenever I meet with Sai or with Asim, they always make you feel very easy and the discussions are very free-flowing. It's like you're just talking to a friend. Over a period of time, we have done investments for my wife, and I also recently started doing investments for my daughter who lives in the US. They were very helpful in terms of identifying what would be the needs for somebody who's a non-resident. We were able to come up with a kind of an approach for investment for my daughter also. Based on my experience, I would be very comfortable and happy to recommend Guardian Capital to my family and friends. In a nutshell, I would describe Guardian Capital as very professional, very thorough, and very warm and friendly in their approach.
I told them I'm averse to risk, protect my capital at any cost. My name is Jayant Tagore. I'm a second generation entrepreneur. Turned around a sick 10 employee company from 1982 today to about 500 employees. I decided that I need to set aside some resources for my retirement and de-risk myself from the family business. I decided I will go to a competent, qualified, experienced organization that can help me achieve my goals. I didn't need to look elsewhere once I started dealing with Guardian. They are truly professional, they understand my needs, they are good listeners, and they are able to comprehend exactly what I am trying to achieve. They are very good communicators. I appreciate the way they time and again come and appraise me about what's happening. Their app is super easy to use. I really appreciate the effort and the thought that they put into their research of the financial markets while advising investors like me. I haven't withdrawn any money in the last 7 years, and I hope I won't do it for another 10, maybe even 15 years. They treat my wealth as part of their wealth, and they are very responsible in that sense. In understanding what my requirements are.
I was very conservative about how I thought about my money. I locked it in safe instruments because I didn't want to think about it. I'm Anirudh, have a consulting business. I primarily work in marketing for media and entertainment companies. I decided I needed help with financial planning because one, I was very lazy to do it myself. And two is that I usually work better when I work with professionals. The team at Guardian Capital spent a lot of time with me trying to identify my short, medium, long-term goals, aspirations, desires, and then helped plan my journey based on whatever my financial requirements at that stage in life would be. With a large name brand money manager, I would have just been another number in a very, very large portfolio, and there would have been no personal touch to my financial journey. Whereas at Guardian Capital, I know the people and they know me, and are able to identify my needs sometimes without me having to explicitly let them know as well. I feel great when I talk to anyone from Guardian Capital. I mean, it's quite easy for me to pick up the phone on anyone. Everybody is always accessible and is always willing to guide me, whether it's a small time or a big time request or advice that I need. The biggest thing I appreciate about Guardian Capital's approach has been the consistency and frequency with which we connect to review what the current performance of my portfolio is, what I could be doing better, or if I want any changes. If you are someone who wants a personal touch to your financial planning, this is the place you want, and these are the people you want to trust with your hard-earned money.
It's only really halfway through my career, and I must have been in my 40s, and I remember looking in the mirror and saying, oops, half your life is over. Hi, I'm Rohini Abraham. I worked in qualitative market research. Went on to work with IMRB. I headed the qualitative research unit for the India. Pretty much retired in 2016 when I was working and I had 2 young children. I liked the security of a salary coming in every month, and that helped. And I didn't really think about investing. It's only really halfway through my career, and I must have been in my 40s, and I remember looking in the mirror and saying, oops, half your life is over. And then I started to get worried, and then I started to ask and find out. What I was used to were bank people coming and saying, why don't you buy this, and why do... And I just had an instinctive mistrust of that, because I didn't think I was getting the best advice going. What really helped me was being sat down and explained how X amount of money, how it will grow 10 years from now, 20 years from now. The planning at every stage for every part of your life. And I think that kind of budgeting made far more sense to me than doing it on the go the way it was done before. So I get a lot of help from them on every front. And I get an immediate response. Whether it is something that my insurance agent wants, or whether it is filing my taxes to follow up with my CA. And that's really what I appreciate about Guardian Capital, that they're not drawing lines saying this is our job and that's not our job. It's become like an extension of my, my office. What I would describe Guardian Capital as a trusted advisor.
When I was trying to invest with some other companies or through myself, it was a very haphazard approach, and the advice was not very personal. I'm Dhruv Murarka, almost 44 now. Since 2016, I have not looked anywhere else. I've just been with Guardian, and when we started off, so Karthik, Asim and other team members, they were asking very important personal questions about life goals and what I want to achieve in the coming years and how I want to utilize the money. So these sort of questions were never asked earlier. It was just that selling a product, आपके पास इतना पैसा है, this is the product, you invest, we'll give so much return. Whether that return came or didn't come, that's a separate story. But here it was very, very personal as well as professional advice, and they built the entire portfolio according to my needs with very good, consistent performance. When I speak to the team at Guardian, it's almost like having a family discussion. So it's a very warm and personal relationship. I have already been recommending Guardian. It's, I think, one of the best financial decisions which I have taken personally, and I would definitely want my friends, my family to, have the same experience and gain from the same thing what I have in the past few years. I would describe Guardian as professional, loyal and trustworthy.
I came from a background that didn't coach me to think about financial planning. I've started introspecting a lot of late because this is my 60th year. There were times where I needed to make big ticket investments at certain milestones. And I suddenly realized I didn't know how to mobilize my assets to raise those things. And that is when Guardian said that you can use your assets and you can get your funding instead of actually borrowing. First person came to me and explained, this is where you are, this is what you have, and this is what you can do. And this is what you can spend, and this is what you can't spend. I was told very clearly by Karthik in all those ways. Till I had this conversation, I didn't realize I could monetize my assets. From 2016, when I first interacted, I must have had 5 or 6 people, and each time the handover has been very nice. So when the new person came to handhold me, he or she exactly knew where I was. They remember my long-term goals. So they keep saying, sir, weren't you planning this car? Weren't you planning this? So would you want to revisit that? For me, after Guardian has come, money has become my last priority. Because if my time and my schedule permits something, money can happen. And by the way, all our meetings within Guardian are very casual meetings or a cup of coffee. We talk about everything under the sun. So what I appreciate about Guardian is they keep checking in at regular intervals. I've never ever been pushed by Guardian to do something I didn't want to do. You're always dependable but non-intrusive. So they know what I want, but they don't go on nagging me about it.
I have tried financial planning by myself. It's pretty tedious because I was not able to give it the time and effort it needed. This is Neha. I'm 31 years old from Hyderabad. I currently have my own business called the Mandava Project. As a person, I want to grow a business. I want to support people around me. I mean, there's so many things that challenge a founder often. You're focusing on survival. You're always thinking about, how do I grow my savings? It takes away energy from other things in your life. It doesn't allow you to function or think straight. It's important to plan because it stabilizes every other thing in your life. You need a team or people who can advise you truthfully and engage with you to resolve doubts or apprehensions that you have. And it's hard to come by a team that is aligned with what you're looking for as an individual. Working with Guardian seemed very seamless. It seemed very comfortable. They were actually invested in growing my portfolio, growing with me. They were very pointed in their answers, very crisp in the way they conveyed information. It wasn't convoluted or complicated to absorb or understand. There were no surprises, which is, I think, the most important. The reports we get with everything broken down, it's very easy to then understand what is happening with basically every rupee that you've invested in. It's a comforting journey. It's a reassuring journey. I feel at ease. I feel at peace. I think clearly. It's a great team to work with. They really have every individual's best interest at the forefront. And I think that is somebody that you should choose to work with. I would describe Guardian as dynamic, informed, and precise.
I think 2022 was a little bit of a tough year. And I was actually panicking a little bit more than I usually do. Hi, I'm Naveen. I head product for a Norwegian-based startup. Generally been working in product for about 15 odd years. Starting to think, how do I get comfortable towards the later part of my life? How much I needed to build up in terms of my corpus. And that's when I thought I needed help. I came across Asim's post on LinkedIn, which led me to sort of reach out to him and have a chat. I think the first conversation sealed the deal for me, more or less. They were not trying to school me, they were trying to understand what I wanted. They worked with me at my level. It's been 4 years. I think 2022 was a little bit of a tough year. And I was actually panicking a little bit more than I usually do. Asim took time out personally to call me quite a few times. I think that really sort of helped. I actually have regular check-ins with them, which sort of helps me stay on track with the decisions they're making and how I need to change. When I speak to my Guardian Capital team, I feel there's a lot of care from their end, which in turn helps me repose a lot of trust. They actually spend time trying to understand my goals. Due to the financial planning that they did or we do every year, is now I sit and think back on how much I should spend, how much I should set away. The reasons I would recommend Guardian Capital is the care they bring to the relationship and their expertise in the market, which helps us trust their decisions.
Investments in the securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.